Howdy folks, Max Mogren here, oilfreefun.com. It is November 29th, 2013, Black Friday, here in beautiful Grand Teton National Park, doing a little shopping. No, just kidding, doing a little skiing and getting in touch with nature, getting that connection to the natural world. In my opinion, in order to be an environmentalist, something I aspire to be, somebody who really cares about the natural world and the health of the planet, the health of all humanity, you got to get out there and enjoy it. So that's what I pretty much devote my life to. But a lot of people claim to be environmentalists these days, but really I think they're more concerned about money. And recently I've been squabbing a bit with the typical climate change perspective spewing folks who believe that they are being scientific when they make outlandish predictions about the distant future. I recently did a book review on Deep by Porter Fox, and the director of sustainability at Aspen Ski Resort has been countering my comments on Amazon.com in the book review section, and he says I reject science or that I don't know science. And that's a common rebuttal to my perspective, where I'm concerned about all of the factors contributing to climate change, notably geoengineering. And it's funny, all these people who claim to be scientific, who claim to be scientists, most of them don't do any real science. Most of them don't go out into the natural world every day and observe and look at the sky and say, well, the sky looks pretty fucked up today with all these plane trails. Or well, like we see today, the sky looks absolutely gorgeous and natural. We've had high pressure here in the Tetons for the last week. A nice layer of surface hoar makes the skiing beautiful, but could be dangerous later. But anyway, the point is, in the midst of this high pressure system, we had 3 days where the sky was full of clouds. And all those clouds originated out of the back end of airplanes. All those airplanes we're flying at 35 to 40,000 feet, or 30 to 40,000 feet, excuse me, and they're all producing cirrus clouds. Now, according to NASA and the scientific consensus, these cirrus clouds have a greenhouse warming impact. And there's 10 to 12,000 planes in the sky, 24/7, 365. So it's pretty absurd to not be concerned about this. And it's absurd that the mainstream climate debate doesn't address this. And I believe that it could potentially be because the mainstream climate kooks are more concerned with money than environmentalism. And my reasoning for this is simple. Most of the people who are conveying the mainstream climate approach are getting paid to do it. An article just came out linking 350.org to the Rockefellers, a banking family that's owned Standard Oil for the last 100 and some years. So these people, there's an agenda, a well-paid and scripted agenda on the climate issue. And guys like me fall outside it, which is why we do it for the love. Our activism is based on concerned citizens concerned about the natural world as opposed to money. Now, it's funny, a lot of these people who claim to be scientific these days, they make fun of the religious. They look down on the religious and say, we are scientific. We use science, right? But really, they're just, especially in the instance of the climate issue, they're speculating about the distant future. And this fails to live up to the basic standards of science, namely that scientific experimentation and observation is the foundation of science. So speculation about the distant future is patently not science. It's not objective, it's not testable, and it's not repeatable, unless you have a time machine, of course. But long story short, they're getting paid. And they make fun of the religious, let's say Christians, for example, because they worship a book. What's a book? A book's a bunch of pieces of paper with words on it. But they fail to realize that pretty much everybody in the world now worships money. What is money? It's pieces of paper with words on it, literally. So A piece of paper with words on it, money, is no different than a piece of paper with words on it, whether it be the Bible or the Quran or some Jewish scrolls or whatever religious crap it is. And look here, right on the back of the dollar bill, what does it say? In God we trust. One what? Well, that's $1. What's $1? $1 is a piece of paper with words and pictures on it. And cryptic words, I might add. If you notice the little pyramid here with the elevated, levitated, all-seeing eye on the top, notice that it says Annui Coeptis. I believe that's Latin for announcing the concept. Novus Ordo Seclorum. New order secular. Secular meaning not religious. Secular meaning not concerned with God or theology, but concerned with kind of, the earthly world, right? Concerned with what's going on earth and improving your time on earth to the best of your ability, making the most of life. Nobody knows what happens in the afterlife, so let's just all try to get rich and party and fuck around with our lives, right? That's secularism, and that's a religion. I'm not a religious guy. I was raised Catholic, but I've moved beyond that. I'm a scientific guy. People say, oh, you don't know anything about science. You're just a kooky ski bum. Dude, I went to university. I studied communication and philosophy intensely for 3 years, trying to make sense of the world. I got pretty frustrated because it was hard to make sense of the world, so I turned to the hard sciences. Spent the next 2 years studying everything across the broad base of science to get into medical school. I got into medical school and went for a year. Or not a year, I went for a month and dropped out. The reason I dropped out is because I realized the medical system was more about making money than it was about helping people. It's profit driven, and it's more about pushing pills and managing chronic illnesses than actually making people healthy, helping people get connected to themselves and the natural world, helping people eat healthy, live healthy, etc., etc., etc. So long story short, I know my science, and unlike the majority of the scientific climatologists and environmental activists who pretend that they can speculate about the distant future of life on Earth and the planet and the climate without acknowledging what is very easily visible through basic human observation. You can use your eyes and see these planes leaving these massive, spreading, billowing trails that form the sky with this high haze. Those guys are kooks, and everybody knows it, is the funniest thing. More and more people are waking up to this reality every day. They're afraid to talk about it on the internet. They're afraid to talk about it with people who don't know. But they'll come up to me and be like, dude, I'm with you. You got it. I understand what you're saying. And that makes me feel good. So, long story short, I'm going to do some skiing. I hope you don't worship pieces of paper. And I hope you don't trust people that worship pieces of paper either. Because the superstition that money is actually worth something when it's just paper loaned into existence by a private banking cartel is about as baseless and superstitious as believing you can predict what the planet is going to be like 100 years in advance based on computer modeling from corrupt government-funded scientists, think tanks, and banks. That's it. One love. Have a great night. Peace.